Hey guys, Blue Earthing here, and today we're going to take on something that caught my eye a little bit. Apparently, faking images of Jupiter proves that Planet X is coming to get us.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist.
This is Dr. Claudia Albers. She is supposedly a graduate and former employee of the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. She claims to have a PhD in physics and appears to have worked for many years as a lecturer in the Department of Physics at the university, but no longer works there. She is also a prominent figure in the Nibiru and Planet X conspiracy. She may be one of their largest advocates, and here she seems to take issue with the recent images of Jupiter's poles released by NASA. So let's see what this physicist has to say about it.
And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one's entitled NASA Lies. Juno photographs of Jupiter are fake. Now, figure 1 below shows a photograph of Jupiter supposedly taken by the Juno probe, which was launched in 2011 and supposedly went into a polar orbit around Jupiter in 2016, with the polar orbit then allowing it to photograph Jupiter from below.
Yes, the Juno mission was launched on August 5th, 2011, after being in development for about 6 years. It was the second orbiter of Jupiter, following Galileo, and entered Jupiter's orbit in 2016. The polar orbit of Jupiter allows it to photograph the surface of Jupiter in sweeps. The orbiter is equipped with JunoCam, a highly durable telescope/camera that was only intended to last about 8 orbits, but has easily surpassed that and is still operational as of this video. The Juno probe also has a highly elliptical orbit, which allows it to brush the outer layers of Jupiter's atmosphere. This is where the rest of the scientific experiments on the probe shine. Now that you have a little bit of background on the probe, we can get back to the video. So, Miss Claudia, you may continue.
Right below the equator. However, Jupiter's red spot, which we can see there, is clearly in the wrong position, as it is supposed to be right below the equator, which we can see there. So the equator is here, and so that red spot's supposed to be right below the equator. It's not in that position in this image.
Okay, I don't know how you came to that conclusion. To me, it looks about right. Like, you do know that the brown line on Jupiter is not the equator, right?
So when viewed from below, layers on a sphere close to the middle of the sphere or the equator get compressed due to perspective, and objects close to it are close to facing away from the surface in a perpendicular direction to the observer's point of view.
Well, at least even a Nibiru believer can still wreck the flat Earth.
This red spot is clearly not close to facing at a perpendicular direction from the observer's point of view. It's facing more at a 45-degree angle.
What? Let me hear that again.
This red spot is clearly not close to facing at a perpendicular direction from the observer's point of view. It's facing more at a 45-degree angle.
I believe that she is trying to say that the big red spot would be facing a 45-degree angle if this image of the southern pole of Jupiter was real, and I think that she would be wrong. Let's try to do a little bit more than just, it sorta looks like, but I'm a little lazy at the moment, so I'm going to do the whole, it sorta looks like, except with pictures to compare it to. Pictures with longitude and latitude lines. Here we have 3 images. On the top, we have a cylindrical projection of Jupiter. On the left is a stereographic polar projection of Jupiter's North Pole. And on the right, we got old Jupe's South Pole. Each polar projection shows the pole at plus or minus 90 degrees either north or south respectively, and the ring of the equator is at 0 degrees. Now, let's compare the South Pole picture with the JunoCam one. As we can see, the giant red spot is in the same position in both of these images. This will allow us to check out the latitude of the big red spot and see what the real angle is using the cylindrical projection. Using these lines, you can see that the giant red spot is about 22 degrees south of the equator. This would mean that it would be pointing at 68 degrees from the viewer in the initial JunoCam picture. So, Miss Claudia, you're wrong here. It is exactly as expected.
So that means that it would be between the equator and the South Pole. So according to this diagram, the red spot would be here somewhere.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Please tell me you aren't trying to say that the JunoCam polar image is an AE map of Jupiter from the North Pole.
But it's supposed to be here, right below the equator. So in this photograph, Jupiter is actually tilted slightly. You can see that. And the view is actually slightly from above the equator, and we can see that because this layer here is slightly curved downwards. And when the perspective is straight from the equator, then all the layer lines would be straight lines.
No, they wouldn't. The lines in the northern hemisphere would curve up, and the lines in the southern hemisphere would curve down while looking at it head on.
So this one is slightly curved. So that means that the perspective is from slightly above the equator. So that means that the red spot is even closer to the equator than it seems, because now the equator is slightly below the middle of the image, which is here somewhere. So the equator is here somewhere. This is just below the equator. So in the Juno photograph, Jupiter's red spot seems to be at a latitude position of about 45 degrees south.
Oh, why are you guessing when you can measure it? Again, this shows how conspiracy theorists think. They can only scratch the surface of topics and then declare themselves correct. Lady, it is so easy to see that the giant red spot is at about 22 degrees south.
You can see here what the latitudes are like. So 0 is the equator, 90 degrees is the South Pole. So this is moving south in the southern hemisphere. This is the 20-degree line. And the red spot is around here, slightly above even the 20-degree line, but not any lower. But what's shown here is the red spot at about 45 degrees, which would be here.
So here lies our problem. She believes that the picture of Jupiter is an AE map of Jupiter with the center being the North Pole. No, this is a picture from the South Pole. You cannot claim that NASA is lying when you don't even know what they are supposedly lying about. Miss Claudia, did you even look up what this picture was?
Here somewhere. So this is clearly in the wrong position. So that means that this is an artist impression, and a very bad artist impression at that, because clearly this artist does not understand three-dimensional perspective.
They don't understand 3D perspective? You have, for the last 3.5 minutes, misread a picture because you don't understand what you are looking at. And by the way, this image is an artist's interpretation, and NASA admits it. This picture is enhanced with brighter colors to make it look really nice. Here's a clip of NASA explaining it.
And then it gets transmitted from the spacecraft memory to Earth using radio waves. And then the bytes are turned into lines of an image. So it's like got Jupiter, you turn it into a jigsaw puzzle, and then you put the puzzle back together again on Earth. We do not have a classic imaging science team, and we count on the public to be our virtual imaging team.
This is where citizens from all over the world step in to process the images that JunoCam takes.
We have the super expert folks that want to start with the raw data. And then we have people who want to pull an image into Photoshop, and they might change the color balance or they might exaggerate the color. I mean, it's as limitless as people's imaginations.
Thus, NASA is producing extremely inferior artistic work at this time.
Yes, because this is clearly inferior artwork.
The question then is, do they actually want people to realize that their missions are all done in a studio? In other words, no spacecraft is ever launched or sent anywhere. Then instead of mission control specialists, they are employing artists and actors. And they are clearly not employing the best artists either. Is that perhaps in an effort to save money on salaries? Does NASA perhaps need a little more money for the real mission, which is to simulate the sky and thus really deceive the Earth's population about Planet X?
So let me get this straight. Okay, NASA is out there hiring engineers, military pilots, and computer scientists. And they expect all these people to become professional actors? This is done in order to show that none of their launches are fake and that they film everything in some sort of studio no one's ever heard of? And then somehow these actors and artists are technologically competent enough to simulate the sky to hide Planet X for some godforsaken reason? Did I get that right? Also, just quit reading off your article. Man, you're like that kid in class who doesn't try on his presentation and then just reads off their PowerPoint word for word.
And you may look at Article 12.16, Earth's atmosphere emits blue light due to smart dust. So it seems that NASA's real mission is to have an excuse to gather all the money which then goes into the real mission, which is have spacecraft in the sky, as I've shown in recent articles, and do all kinds of things to deceive the world's population into thinking that everything is normal.
But why? Why are they hiding Planet X? What would the governments of the world be getting from hiding Planet X? It's not like the governments are able to take resources from the planet because apparently, according to Miss Claudia, all rocket launches are fake, and we have never been to space.
So in conclusion, a photograph of Jupiter supposedly taken by the NASA Juno probe in a polar orbit around Jupiter is in the wrong position, thus indicating that the photograph is an artist's bad impression, and that the mission is all done in a studio and thus fake, an effort to deceive the Earth's population, and thus an indication that the father of lies is in control of NASA.
All you need to prove that NASA is all fake and evil is to misinterpret a photograph as an AE map and project your own stupid conclusions onto a subject that you have no knowledge of. Thank you, Miss Claudia, for proving how moronic the Nibiru loons really are. Thank you guys for watching. That was a fun video. It's nice covering something a little bit different. Please, if you haven't, consider subscribing to the channel or find me on Twitter at BlueEarthThing. And there's one other option. For the most exclusive access, hit up my Instagram at BlueEarthThing. I'll see you guys next time. BlueEarthThing out.